Call this meeting to order. Please stand and we'll recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Winona City Council. Tonight, I have a few different things that we're going to mention during my comments. First, we will start with our human rights essay contest. Tonight, we've got our winner here, Ashley Majeski. But first, I'm going to ask that Marcy Hitz, the Vice Chair of our Human Rights Commission, come up and do a short intro for Ashley.
Hi, everyone. I'm Vice Chair of the Human Rights Commission. Every year in February for Black History Month, we do a essay contest. And it goes out to all the high schools. We always get several entries. And our winner this year is Ashley Majeski. She is a junior at Cotter. And the topic this year was, what is Juneteenth and why is it important? And I just want to read a brief comment from her essay. Juneteenth is unique in its celebration of independence. It was not a geographical region that was trying to get independence from another country. Instead, African Americans only wished to be included and accepted as citizens in the country in which they lived. So Ashley had a wonderful essay, and she's going to come up here now, and we're really excited to give her this award. So.
Oops. Okay, next thing tonight, we've got a proclamation regarding Winona Earth Day and Arbor Day. City of Winona, Minnesota proclamation, whereas all people have a right to healthy and sustainable environment, as well as economic growth and opportunity, and whereas trees provide many ecological and human benefits that are being diminished by changing temperatures and precipitation, more extreme weather events, and increasing pressure from pests, diseases, and invasive species. And whereas all of us as caretakers of our planet have an obligation to work towards lessening our environmental footprint. And whereas all of us can help build resilient communities and reduce the negative impacts of climate change by planting and caring for our trees, and by using wood products to store carbon into the future. And whereas the City of Winona participates in the Green Step Cities program and Tree City USA program to better achieve our environmental goals and obligations. And whereas the City of Winona will celebrate an Earth Day event on Saturday, April 22nd, 2023 from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the JC Pavilion in Lake Park. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Scott Sherman, hereby proclaim Saturday, April 22nd, 2023 as Winona Earth and Arbor Day. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Winona to be affixed this third day of April 2023. We did recently receive our 32nd award from the Arbor Day Foundation, recognizing us as a tree city. I'm just going to read a short paragraph from Tree City USA, or from the Arbor Day Foundation. On behalf of the Arbor Day Foundation, congratulations on earning recognition as a 2022 Tree City USA. Residents of your community should be proud to live in a place that makes the planting and care of trees a priority, and you should be proud of a job well done. And we do have a small plaque here with the 2022 Tree City Award affixed, and we'll be working on our 2023 one as well. Lastly, this evening, I have a press release from the Winona Police Department regarding the endangered and missing person investigation within the Winona Police Department. Update on endangered missing person Madeline Jane Kingsbury, 26. Madeline Kingsbury was last seen on the morning of March 31 and has not had contact with friends or family since. She was last seen at her home in Winona, Minnesota. Kingsbury was supposed to show up for work that morning, but did not. In addition, numerous calls and messages from friends and family went unanswered. Kingsbury was supposed to pick her children up from daycare that afternoon, but didn't show up or make other arrangements. All of this is extremely out of character for her. Since March 31st, investigators have interviewed numerous people, including family and friends. Investigators have been canvassing neighborhoods, searching areas, and attempting to collect any video surveillance that might give us clues as to where Kingsbury or her van, a 2014 dark blue Chrysler Town & Country, may have traveled. Recent developments led investigators to believe a van matching the description of Kingsbury's was seen traveling from Winona to the eastern part of Fillmore County during the day on March 31. The Winona Police Department and the Fillmore County Sheriff's Office are asking residents and landowners in eastern Fillmore County to check their properties, including any video cameras, doorbell cameras, game cameras, etc., for any signs of the van passing through or stopping. In addition, we asked residents and landowners to check for signs of a disturbance or other suspicious activity. We are specifically looking for information during the time frame of 8 a.m. on March 31 to 4 p.m. on Saturday, April 1, along the Highway 43 corridor of Winona and Fillmore counties. If you have any information, please contact the Winona Police Department at 507-457-6288. Assisting the Winona Police Department in this investigation is the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, the Winona County Sheriff's Office, Fillmore County Sheriff's Office, Houston County Sheriff's Office, members of the Southeast Minnesota Violent Crimes Enforcement Team, and many other agencies. Our hearts go out to Kingsbury's family, and we are asking everyone to help us bring her home safely. Sincerely, the Winona Police Department. With that, I will pass it along to City Manager Chad Ubel.
Mayor and Council, one announcement tonight. Excuse me. We'd like to recognize the service of Daniel Welch, who retired on March 31st. Dan worked for the city for 21 years. He started and ended his career as a tree maintenance worker. Early in his career, he was the guy in the bucket assessing the best way to make the cuts and drop branches. In the later years of his career, he was the ground spotter that ensured safety around the work area. Many people may not realize the tree maintenance work is one of the most dangerous occupations due to the high potential for falls, being struck by falling tree limbs, and accidents involving saws. Dan's retirement is both a celebration of his career and the excellent safety record of the city tree crew. In addition to tree maintenance, Dan assisted with various jobs in the park maintenance and street maintenance divisions during the winter months. Over the last several years, Dan plowed the streets in the East End additions along the north and south side of 43, along Homer Road and Valley Oaks. Dan has also plowed the cross streets from the far east end downtown and hauled snow out of the downtown area. Dan was a dedicated and loyal employee. His coworkers stated that he is very good at solving complex problems with creative solutions. Additionally, he is known to be a great storyteller who loves the outdoors and enjoys hunting waterfowl, fishing for walleye. We just add this comment. I know Dan's in the back. I started my career early in my career when Dan's father was ending his career. And I know, Dan, that he would be very proud of your commitment to the city. So please join me in thanking Dan Welch for his 21 years of service and wishing him a long, healthy, and happy retirement. So Dan, you can come up.
Congratulations. Thank you for all the hard work.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Dan, did you want to say anything? You don't have to. I just want to make sure.
Street crew wasn't the first job that I had working for the city. Actually stapling youth sports schedules together in the early sixties was my first job here. And, then after that, it was raking the beach when we did have a beach down at the lake. And then, working at the plaza, down at the plaza when there was a plaza. But, I'd like to thank, the people that I started working with here. I learned a lot from them and all the, people that I worked with. Just like to thank them. So have a good summer.
Thank you. You as well.
No other comments tonight.
I will now ask the city clerk to take roll call.
Mayor Sherman,
Here.
Councilman Young,
Here.
Haima,
Here.
Christensen,
Here.
Iden. Here. Borzakowski,
Here.
Rapinski.
For the remainder of this meeting, residents are only allowed to speak if they have a request before council, and I have recognized you to speak.
Under the petitions, requests, and communications, item 3.1 is a request for temporary on sale and wine and malt liquor license for the Midwest Music Fest.
Move the council approve the license.
Second.
A motion from Steve, a second from George. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 3.2 is the Habitat for Humanity Rock the Block event license agreement for Sunday, August 27th.
Move the council authorize the city manager and city clerk to
Second
execute
that.
the agreement.
We have a motion from Steve, a second from Pam. We do have Amanda Headland here from Habitat, if anyone has any questions for her. George.
Have her come up and tell us about the event. I'm hearing a lot of good things about it and it will be rocking and rolling.
Thank you. Yeah, last year was our first year offering Rock the Block to Winona, and it's where we do, in a concentrated period of time, a series of home repairs for people with limited income. And so we're looking forward to doing that again this year. And the primary volunteers involved with that initiative is the Winona faith community. So various congregations across faith traditions come out and do the work. And that event will be our celebration at the culmination of the repairs.
Wow.
Very good.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? No? Thanks, Amanda. Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 3.3 is the Earth Day celebration street closure request for Saturday, April 22nd.
Move the council approve the request.
Second.
We have a motion from Steve, a second from Aaron. We do have Debbie Niebuhr here from the Winona Arts Center, if anyone has questions for her.
She wants to tell us something.
Debbie, you want to tell us a little bit about it?
So actually, the Winona Arts Center, the City of Winona, Habitat for Humanity, and Bluff Country Co-op have collaborated together to do a Earthwide celebration. We have 17 vendors who are coming to, tree giveaway, art project for kids, hopefully kite flying, Friends of the Refuge. There's a whole number of people coming that want to have events there, and we'll have food trucks. So mainly we requested the street closure because Little Warriors Drumline is going to perform, and then that's going to be followed by a procession of the species for children 12 and under are going to do a parade with their favorite animal costume. And then the food vendors are going to be kind of right in front as you go into the JC. So we thought it would be best to have an area blocked off with families trying to get food. We want it to be safe for people.
Very good. Thank you, Debbie. Any other comments, questions, discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 3.4 is the Minnesota Beethoven Festival Free Concert Street Closure Event for Saturday, July 8th.
Move the council approve the request.
Second that.
We have a motion from Steve, a second from Pam. Any discussion? Pam?
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 3.5 is the John Street closure request for Saturday, May 20th.
Move the council approve the request.
I'd second that.
Motion from Steve, a second from Pam. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 3.6 is a request for temporary on-sale wine and malt liquor licenses for the Minnesota Marine Art Museum.
Move the council approve the licenses.
Second.
We have a motion from Steve, a second from George. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 3.7 is a request to remove the 10-minute parking on East Third Street.
I'll motion that.
Move the
Motion from Aaron, second from Pam. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
On new business, item 5.1 is the Friendship Center grant request.
Move the council authorize
the
staff.
request.
Second.
All right, there we go. Motion from George, interrupted second from Steve. Any discussion? We do have Laura Holberg here, if anyone has any questions for her,
Yeah, could she tell us a
Yeah.
little more about this than what we read?
please.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and Council. So the CHORCOR program is about 3 years old at this point. It's been funded primarily through grants. We do receive fee for services, so solely working towards self-sustainability. But the Live Well at Home grant that we're applying for is a grant that helps people remain living in their own homes. And we're hoping to help sustain the CHOR program through this grant through 2025, June 2025. So it's a little bit longer than a typical one-year grant. We do have funding through the end of December. So within our grant, we'll only be applying for January through June of 2025. But we're also hoping to expand some of our services to St. Charles, a little bit more rural communities. We're hearing a lot from our advocates primarily that there are some folks that just really need that help with the lawn care, spring cleanup, fall cleanup, things that we are hoping to kind of establish some volunteer groups in those communities. We're also hoping to provide some internship opportunities with this grant. Volunteer recruitment and maintaining volunteers is difficult. Jessie, the coordinator, works really hard and has some really unique and interesting partnerships that she's developed. But we're hoping that through some internships, we can come up with some even more creative ways to build volunteer bases in different communities and then maybe help grow that within our own community as well.
Good, good.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
George?
Do we have a pretty good chance, Laura, at getting this grant?
We haven't applied for a Live Well at Home grant in the past. We had considered it, but we didn't. They're pretty competitive. And we're hoping that because we're going to be focusing on some rural communities, that our chances will be increased instead of just sustaining an existing program, that we're going to be working to build and grow an existing program that's been relatively successful. So we're hopeful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Laura? No? Thanks, Laura. Okay. Any other discussion at all? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 5.2 is the investment report.
Move the council approve the investment report.
I will second that.
Motion from Steve, a second from George. We do have Jessica Wojan here. Anybody has any questions? Do we need a description?
Give her the floor.
Come on up.
Council. This investment report is a new report that we decided to provide to council on a biannual basis when we when we went through our financial policy. And so you'll see this twice a year, each year.
Good. Good.
Any questions for Jessica? No? Hearing none? Oh,
Thank you.
hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thanks, Jessica.
Item 5.3 is a city code amendment for temporary liquor licenses.
I would motion to introduce the attached ordinance.
second that.
We have a motion from George, second from Aaron. Any discussion? From the left side of the table? No? Jeff?
Just a clarifying question. I read through it and so is this is primarily to allow for mixed alcoholic beverages that are already like pre-mixed and that type of stuff to go along with beer and wine and that type of thing. If I got that part right?
Yes, Mayor and Council, this will allow the sale of any type of legal intoxicating liquor, whether it be the pre-mixed or if they mix on the premises, or if they want, an organization wants to have a bourbon tasting or a whiskey tasting it, or a Bloody Mary contest.
Okay.
It just opens the door to more types of events that they can host.
Okay, so it could be pretty much just a full open bar.
Mhm.
Okay, appreciate the clarity.
Steve?
Monica, do we have some history further back on this? Had we done this in the past? Or have there been changes in previous times where we had done this and then pulled it back? Or has this been this way for as long as time itself or what?
So I've only been here 25 years.
Okay,
And in that time, our temporary licenses initially were only 3-2 beer. And maybe 10 years ago or so, the council did an amendment to allow wine and strong beer. And so this would be amending it again to allow strong liquor. I would note we are probably one of the few, if maybe the only city in the state that has that restriction on temporary licenses.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Monica.
Just to follow up then, so this pretty much puts us in line with other cities regardless of size throughout the state then?
That's correct.
Okay, thanks, that helps.
Any other questions at all?
You're okay with this, right?
Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 5.4 is the city code amendment for motorized scooter licenses.
Would the council introduce the ordinance?
I'll second that.
Motion from Steve, a second from George. Any discussion? Jeff?
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. Obviously, this was, brought about and started prior to me getting here. So if these questions have been answered, I apologize. But I noticed when I'm out, for example, when I was out and visiting relatives in California, what have you, where scooters have been around for a long time, they have over time restricted them more and more and more. For example, parking areas, they're painted on the street in blue near the corners. That way people know where to go get them and know where to drop them off so they don't end up willy-nilly here and there and in people's front yards and such. And is there anything within this ordinance that helps to coordinate pickup, drop-off places? And so I guess that's my first question.
So Mayor and Council, the way this ordinance is drafted is scooters can be dropped off anywhere on the boulevards. We ask that they not be blocking a sidewalk, but it does allow for travel on those devices throughout the city. But if the council wanted to restrict it, that's within, you would change the ordinance to set those areas.
Right, and I'm not suggesting changes right now. I think these are more things to think about because we're new with this. And if you look at communities that have been established with this, they have changed and evolved over time to better serve both the company and the citizens of the community. So, at this point, we're pretty much offering a blank slate, and it's usually you end up doing restrictions because problems begin to occur. Sometimes you can learn from others and prevent the problems in the first place. Is kind of what I'm looking towards in regards to this, especially when and when I read through it, it looks like we're increasing the amount of scooters by 50%, We're going from 100 to 150 within the community. So that's gonna, add to where they end up and all of that kind of thing. And so that was my first part of this, go ahead, finish that. Now I got one more.
So the previous clause in the ordinance was that each company would be restricted to 100 and we would have 2 companies. Right now, we only have 1 company. So they asked that we look at increasing the number that 1 company would be permitted to use. It doesn't mean that in this license term, we would go to the 150. They
Okay,
have yet to make their application. And I think staff was looking at keeping the number at 100 for the coming year.
okay,
But this makes it so in coming years, if we only have 1 company and we feel an increase in the number of devices is needed, we could do that. But I think for 23, our goal is to keep it at 100 for the city.
okay.
Our original ordinance did say 150 max within the city, 100 per, was it 200? And then 100 per company.
Okay.
So we're not necessarily changing anything other than how many one company
Okay.
can have in the city.
And then the second issue was I saw, and rightly so, that you can ride them to Lake Park, but you're not supposed to ride them on the actual
Bike path.
path and what have you. What actual enforcement is there, for that? Because it raises a second issue that we don't need to get into now, but it's tangential in that you're seeing an increase of electric vehicles on the bike path, both from e-bikes to the electric skateboards to, I don't even know what you quite call them, but they're the thing with the ball in the middle. And it looks like an ER trip waiting to happen.
A one wheel.
Yeah, one
Yep.
wheel, that's it.
Yep.
And so I'm seeing, because I can see the park from my window, I see an increasing amount of these and the speeds that they're going at are not compatible with the other activities that are going on, especially on Westlake Park where people have dogs on leashes and the dogs are wandering around and what have you. So I'm, the particular was enforcement related to the scooters, but I think it expands to the other electric vehicles that I think we're seeing much more use of within the last 2 to 3 years.
Mayor, I
So-
can quick comment then. I know the scooters, I believe, shut down. They don't mechanically work
Really?
around the lake. So you can't, you probably have never seen one actually driving
Oh,
around the
no,
lake.
I haven't.
Because they,
I haven't.
they shut off.
Really? They geographically can shut themselves.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, they're-
that's wonderful.
So I would
Okay.
note that is the bird scooters, but we do know there are people who own their own electric
Right.
scooter. So I think Chad wanted to say something about the ordinance.
So Mayor and Council, a bit of a clarification too. We're working with Bird because that geographical GPS that's within
Geofencing.
in the geofencing that's within the scooter. Concern is that, there's a throttle issue. So it doesn't necessarily just shut you down. Like you
Right.
can technically get on the path. But the larger issue that we're concerned about and going forward is that certainly when the lake paths were created, 2 things. One, the foresight that there would be this many user conflicts on those paths probably wasn't thought of. And again, we're limited by the width of that path.
Right.
Which then again leads to other conflicts, whether it's strollers, bikes, roller blades, roller skis,
Dogs.
dogs, runners, e-bikes, one wheels, electric scooters, that at some point, it's, I think, logical that we would come back with an ordinance that would allow or disallow some uses along that path, because really just simply the user conflicts that are
Right.
happening on the path. So we did put the geofencing around the path for that reason.
Okay.
Of course, if you have a private electric scooter, the short answer is there isn't any enforcement being done by Park Rec Department, or then it's really just an issue if it's spotted then by the police department and noticed by the police department. It's the only way that's really handled.
Okay. I don't want to hang this up anymore because I realize I'm getting off on a tangent, but I think it's something that, we probably should consider and minimally consider signage as to what is and isn't allowed, you know, in regards to that. It's obviously one of the best things in Winona, and it's because of its popularity, you know, lots of people use it. If you go up to the Twin Cities and look around, you know, Lake Harriet or any of those, typically they have two paths, you know, one for just walking, you know, and then the other for all of the other. So, and obviously we don't have that luxury, but it's something we probably should consider, you know, before, you know, something bad does happen. So thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Steve, you had a comment?
Monica, can I confirm that the geofencing extends down that path that we discussed from East Lake to Gunderson? And does Winona State have a separate agreement on whatever they're doing?
Yes, I should clarify that on the map because the trail is so small there, but the trail from the West Lake path to Viola Street would also be restricted. So we would not want the motorized scooters on that connecting trail. And yes, Bird will have a separate agreement with Winona State. I don't know if they've settled that yet. They did have one last year and they were looking to do a renewal for this year.
Thanks, Monica. Pam?
Just a comment. I did read in the paper this morning that Paris, France, which was the first city to allow these scooters everywhere, has now decided that they're not allowed anywhere.
Right.
So they've backed completely up. So
Did they say?
just too much trouble, too many accidents, too many collisions between people and animals and vehicles and so forth. So
That's exactly what I was referring to in
Right.
the cities that have had them for quite a while. Thank you.
just another comment. One complaint I did hear many times last year was that the bikes were left, the scooters were left all akimbo every which way. And I think your idea of the special places at the end of the block might be worth looking at.
I'll just I suggest all of you try it at some point this summer. You can see how it works. But when you log out or when you're done with your scooter, you are supposed to take a photo of where you left it. So Bird is trying to make sure that
Really?
they can see where they are, how they're being left, and then there's some accountability to that user specifically as to where it's being left. So that doesn't mean someone else can pick it up and move it after it's been logged out and it's not active. But that is one of the pieces of that app. So
Perhaps we should have a city council meeting that takes place on the scooters.
agreed. Aaron, you had a comment? Or George, sorry, George?
I was a little apprehensive when the scooters first came out, but I see a lot of people drive, you know, flying around on them. They're going, they crank them up. And as I drive in town on Saturday morning, they're on Mankato Avenue. They're deep in the East End. They're over the downtown area. And I think, like, you know, when they're down on Mankato, they go down there maybe to visit whatever they care to visit, and they come out, they maybe cannot go back on the scooter. So, and I don't know if there's anything like that at all, but they seem to find their way back. And Jeff was talking about the signs and things. There's a sign on East Lake, do not walk your dog. And there's dogs being walked there all the time. They should only be walked on the West Lake. But, you know, I guess they do what they want to do. And I do not know how we enforce that. Someone on one of those scooters on the lake, I don't know how in the hell you'd catch them. So, I mean, you know, it's going to be pretty hard, but, you know, they're fun to see. We can govern them more, but let's just see, you know, what happens. A nice, you know, a parking area, fine, but I'm afraid people that travel, you know, maybe far west or deep east, they are not going to return those there. They'll leave them right there where they parked them. So, but, we're off to a good start with them.
Thanks, George. Jerome?
George, I'm afraid the only thing that can stop a bad guy on a scooter is a good guy with a scooter. But I just was wondering if Chad, if we'd gotten any report back on how successful the program was last season and what Bird thinks of Winona.
Mayor and council, I think I'll defer to Monica and Patrick. They've been in communication with Bird about really what they saw in the first year.
So they did give us a portal where we could check also daily progress, and they started in mid-August and ended the end of October. And they were really surprised by the ridership in Winona in that 2.5 month time frame. The busiest times for riders were Friday and Saturday night from 9 PM to 1 AM. And also heavy use on, during the day on Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays.
I'm wondering, particularly in regard to that particular time frame, does an electric scooter qualify as a motor vehicle? Do we?
I don't.
I'm thinking specifically for those using transportation from our licensed establishments.
The attorney on.
I don't think so.
Would the city attorney know the answer to that?
I'm not the prosecuting attorney. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So I'd have to consult with the prosecuting attorney about that. But, there have been DWIs for driving, lawnmowers and golf carts. And so it's certainly possible that they are a motor vehicle.
I think that would be something to look into and publicize. I mean, it could save maybe save somebody a major fine and bad record.
Steve?
I can give an accurate comment on one thing that was asked here. I don't know if it's a motor vehicle or not, but you're still liable for injuries it's caused. That's for sure.
Okay, good to know. Any other comments or questions?
Got one
Yeah,
last, just
Jeff.
clarifying. In regards to the painting, the way that they do it, for example, in San Diego, is they just do like about a 6 to 8 foot blue swatch sort of near the corners.
Mhm.
So it's universal. It's not in the middle of the block, doesn't take up parking places, but it's in that spot where you can't park a car anyway. And that way people just know if you want one, you walk to the corner. If you've got one, you return it at the corner. So it's universal throughout the town.
Yep. Thank you. Any other comments, questions, discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 7.1 is council concerns.
We'll start with Councilmember Borzakowski.
Thank you, Mayor. Just be on guard this weekend, Saturday morning, around 10 o'clock. There could be some rabbits moving around downtown Winona. And too bad they couldn't go on scooters. That would be a lot of fun. But just keep your eye open for them. So they'll be out and around, hopping around between Franklin and Market Street and perhaps Walnut Street. So, and then just on a sad note, I'd like to offer condolences to the family of Shirley Kapusman. Shirley, who passed away here late last week. She spent her working career with Winona County. She was in the auditor's office, the treasurer's office, and to her family, to the grandchildren, condolences in the passing of a very, very wonderful woman and caring woman and a good volunteer in our community. And happy Easter to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Councilmember Iden.
Regretfully, I did not prepare for this, but I would like to mention that the Bird Club and many other people in town are wishing condolences to the family of Bev Spandy, who died last week and has been a long time. She's 92 years old, very active in Bird Club and in many other organizations in town.
And a distant relation of mine.
Really?
Oh. Glad to hear that. Thank you, Pam. Councilmember Young.
Nothing tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Councilmember Rapinski.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to give a quick shout out to 9th grade student at Winona Senior High School named Marshall, who took the time to write me a letter today. And so thank you very much for your letter, Marshall. We will look at those issues you brought up. And again, thank you for sending me that letter.
Yeah. Thank you, Aaron. Councilmember Haima.
Two quick things. I received a couple of comments in regards to this time of the year when the last snowplow happened because of the spring or the freeze thaw cycle. A lot of the well, I don't know if it's pavement or the blacktop is ending up in people's yards. So it's no fault of the snow plows at all. I understand that. But particularly the area kind of between Sioux and Huff, between Sarnia and Lake. It seems to be, worse than some of the others. I went and after I received a couple of calls on it, I went and drove some of those streets, and it's certainly a part of a lot of anything that hasn't been redone recently, but it seems to be a little more acute in that area. So I wanted to pass that concern along. The other is I met with a group of folks in relationship to West End parks, and an interesting question was brought up to me, which I didn't have an answer, not that I expect one here tonight either, but we've talked about how on the west side of Winona, there are very few parks for kids to play in anymore. With Madison gone, with the one at Dakota taken out, there is one at Jefferson. There is I guess you could call it that at the West End Rec Center behind it. It's a little shaky, but the one that's the nicest in the area is the one at the Aquatic Center, which is locked up 9 months of the year. So there was a question as to would it be possible, with an adjustment of fencing since we have the infrastructure and the investment there, to have that open the other 9 months of the year, again, providing the security, with the Aquatic Center. But is that something that could be open? So again, just meeting with a concerned group of folks about the parks issue. I know that's on people's radar, but it's something I'm getting a pretty constant contact in regard to. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Councilmember Christensen.
Just a happy Easter to everybody, and keep an eye out for that bunny. He's looking like he's got a little extra room this year. Whiskers and floppier ears.
Are you talking to me?
No.
And moving on to
Ooh.
the consent agenda, there are 3 items. Approval of the minutes from the March 20th meeting. Final adoption of 3 ordinances related to the Xcel Energy franchise agreement and a claim by the city of Winona against David Schultz.
Will the council approve the consent agenda?
Motion from Steve, a second from Aaron. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Mayor, being 7:12 PM, I move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion from George, second from Steve. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.